They're conditions that confuse most doctors: mast cell activation syndrome and histamine intolerance. And yet they cause you to have often severe allergy symptoms. But the NIH says, and I quote, the cause is unknown. Well, Dr. Maggie is here and she isn't confused.
Yeah, and that actually makes me mad that so many of these symptoms and disease states that we're talking about, and a lot of them linked with allergy or autoimmune type underlying disorders, have written that the cause is unknown. Well, I sure as hell know what is causing mast cell activation and histamine intolerance. And today, for the first time, you guys are going to hear from me directly. And this is from actual evidence of I'm going to share some case studies of people who've actually gone through our program with severe cases of mast cell or histamine intolerance. And I'm going to show you exactly and walk you through what was the underlying cause for them and how to solve this. Here we go.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight on Autoimmune Table Talk Live. I'm your co-host, Anna Manuel, alongside the one and only Dr. Maggie Yu, drinking her mug of something delicious.
It says boss lady right there.
And it is how appropriate. What's going on, Maggie?
I'm going to hold this like a beer mug. I'm doing great. And I think for those of you that are new to us and watching this for the first time, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, make sure you join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, a huge community. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and a follow. And please subscribe to our channel so you get notified every time we go live. I am a functional and holistic medicine physician and created the Transform protocol to teach you, the person, how to actually transform your autoimmune disease naturally. So yeah, this is a huge topic, Anne. I mean, it's almost unheard of outside of the autoimmune and the allergy community, but it is one of the most common set of symptoms and diagnoses that we deal with.
Right. So anybody out there that if you know you are dealing with mast cell activation syndrome, or if you've got histamine issues, histamine intolerance, let us know in the comments. What is it that you're dealing with? Do you have any ideas what foods could be your trigger? Have you had testing done before? Let us know, because I guarantee you're not going to be getting the answers. And you're probably pretty frustrated with what's happening in conventional medicine if you haven't yet gone through the Transform program, because doctors, as we said, even the NIH is saying, yeah, we don't know. The cause is unknown. We can't really tell you what is causing your issues. And in some cases, Dr. Maggie, this can be very serious, even life-threatening.
Oh yeah. And I would love any alumni or anyone that's been through our programs who has suffered from any mast cell activation, histamine intolerance, or even the symptoms of it, even if you don't have a diagnosis. Most of you, by the way, don't even have a diagnosis, and we'll talk about that. If you can share, if you're an alumni, I would love for you to share in the comment section what your experience has been with your mast cell and your histamine intolerance as you went through our program. I love real people and real outcomes discussing their own journey through this. So don't believe me, believe real people and their real outcomes. And by the way, for those of you who are watching and you really importantly, I want you in the comment section, tell me about what's going on with your autoimmune issues, whether it's related to mast cell or histamine or not. I want you to put it in chat because we have tons of resources. I've done other trainings. We have tons of case studies of people with, I swear, cases even harder than yours. Even though you think you're super special, rare, or extreme, there's going to be people sicker than you that we have been able to turn around. And we have tons of case studies we can share, but we can't share. We don't know what's going on with you. So share it in the comment section and then check your message request later. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and put a link here. We'll put a link for you to message our team as well. If you want to tell us about it privately, feel free to click a link and send a message to our team. We'll be happy to share resources with you.
Yeah, because a lot of people are dealing with this, whether they know it or not. So let's talk about what is it? What is mast cell activation syndrome, and get into a histamine intolerance as well.
Well, yeah. So mast cells are cells in your body that actually normally, when they see an allergen, they start creating histamines. They start to create histamines. And what happens is mast cells are just one part of the system of the immune system. So there's many ways with which we can react from our immune system to protect us from infection, but also allergens. And mast cells are there for a protective reason, for your body to say, hey, something's wrong, something doesn't belong here. I'm going to set up some histamines. And yet that reaction with increasing the histamines will set off a whole cascade of kind of reactions that are designed to somewhat protect you. Like example would be like, when you think about it, let's say you have a mast cell activation disorder. You are making a ton of histamines, way more than normally needed. So it's really exaggerated, what I call crazy ass response that can be in itself become life threatening. Histamine intolerance is where you make the histamines, but your body develop a hyperreaction to that histamine where you can't even tolerate that level of histamine. So it's either the cell itself is making too much, the mast cell, or the histamine chemical itself in your body is not tolerated. Either way, clinically, it looks the same. What it looks like is severe, and it can be life-threatening reactions to a variety of triggers. Many of the times we associate with food. And you can be eating something that you know will cause it and it will happen. Most of the time, though, you cannot figure out what's causing it. And then as a result, you can be eating, let's say last week you had pumpkin, this week you had pumpkin, and this week, for some reason, you just ate the pumpkin, and suddenly you get almost an anaphylactic type reaction. And these allergy reactions can involve every system in your body. I mean, I think from the head down, when you think about it, you can get a severe headache, you can get eye itching and pain and swelling, you can get nose and sinus swelling, you can get tongue swelling, lip swelling, your esophagus can swell up, your breathing, your breathing bronchioles can actually swell up so you can't even breathe. So this is scary as hell. And on top of that, skin. How many of you guys with mast cell out there, and I'm describing you, if any of these symptoms are hitting you, let me know. You can be getting some rashes all over your body. That can happen. You can get severe flushing, redness. You can get shortness of breath. And then there's cardiac reactions, really rapid heart rate, chest pressure. You can almost feel like you're having a heart attack. And your blood pressure can be really elevated extremely as a result of this reaction to, let's say, food as one of the examples. So abdominal pain, cramping, nausea, diarrhea, all severe allergic reaction to mast cell activation. And the problem is that it's not mild, it's extreme. So it's not just, oh, a little allergy, little lady, there you go. No, this is like life-threatening. These people end up in the ER multiple times a year or even days, weeks. In a week, some people could be in the ER multiple times. And the problem is that you don't know what's triggering it. And even the NIH says we don't know the cause. And then on top of it, Abigail just said self-diagnosed histamine intolerance. Mm-hmm. Doctors are not aware of this as a diagnosis. They don't know how to test for it very well. And on top of it, even if you ran the right tests, 50 to 80% of the people that I work with tested negative on those, yet they still have the symptoms. And when they don't fulfill the clinical criteria with testing for it, people just kind of say, oh, you're shit out of luck.
So let's highlight that again. Are you saying they actually go through allergy testing and then aren't testing positive for these allergens, and so they think, okay, I must be all right to eat them, so they continue to eat them and yet continue to have symptoms and never really can figure out what is the cause?
That is correct. So what happens is there's so much limitations in conventional testing. When you go see an allergist, you think they're the expert on all allergies, and you're dead wrong. You're dead wrong. They're dead wrong on your life. And the issue is that allergists are only trained to deal with what we call IgE, anaphylactic type reactions. And allergists, because that's their only training, will dismiss any other type of triggers. By the way, you're going to right now learn a fact more than your allergist knows, okay? Which is that they deal with only IgE, what we call emergency room type allergies, which mast cell activation looks like. But when you test negative to those, they say, oh, it's in your head or there's nothing we can do. But that's not the only allergy system that you have. We have other types of allergic reaction like the IgG family, like in the IgA family. There's also many types of reactions that aren't even related to food allergies. Mm-hmm. So just because you don't have that one narrow lane of IgE allergies doesn't mean you don't have a histamine problem, a mast cell problem, or some sort of severe life-threatening allergy problem. But because the testing isn't designed to test for that, you don't have a problem. And maybe you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and let's put you on some antidepressants, you little lady.
And that is so frustrating. And you hear that with so many aspects of autoimmune disease. And here's just another one kind of being brushed away by your doctors. I just have to highlight this comment from somebody that's currently in the program. I have mast cell histamine. She is nailing it, talking about Dr. Maggie. I have a lot of these symptoms. I'm in the program and cannot wait to see the results.
So, and I mean, this isn't rare. I want to ask how many people out there with mast cell or histamine or suspected think that this is, you're some super special rare thing. Because I'm going to blow your mind when I tell you that at least 35% of people in our program at any given time have mast cell, histamine intolerance, or symptoms that are related with it, period. And I took a poll. I take poll. I took, because when people join the program, we say, how many people have this? And it's about 35%.
That is so much higher than I would have expected.
And of that 35%, only about 20% of them actually have the diagnosis.
Even know it. But
Correct.
You're able to figure it out through the program. And then that's a relief to find out not only, okay, here's what I've been dealing with and why my symptoms aren't just in my head, but then there's a path. There is a way to find out through the program exactly what the triggers are and then how to fix it.
Well, I think a key point is this, is that the problem is a lot of these people with mast cell activation or histamine intolerance will go to a traditional allergist, test negative for IgE testing, and then they're like, we don't know what's causing it. But that's really missing the buck, because to be honest with this, it doesn't have to be an IgE allergy. It could be IgG, it could be IgA, it could be other issues that are compounding it. So the fact of the matter is that diagnosis is the number one problem, is that it's very difficult for people to get the diagnosis. And number two, the type of testing that's available for people is very limited, and it doesn't paint the full picture whatsoever. In fact, most of the time, what's causing these mast cell or histamine intolerance symptoms are not IgE allergies your allergists are testing. Mm-hmm. So then, even if they say, oh, it's clams and oysters, okay, then why is it every time I eat broccoli this happens? Or why is it last week I ate broccoli, no problem, and this week I eat broccoli and something happens? That's the conundrum. What happened? What caused it last week isn't what's causing it this week. How the hell do you explain that? Except maybe you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. There's actually a scientific reason behind why that happens.
You start to feel crazy. Can you share that scientific reason?
I don't know. I need some encouragement in the comments.
How can you share the reason?
How many people out there? I need some comment section. Give me some love here, because I want to know how many of you out there are experiencing what I just said, which is one week you think you know and it's broccoli, but yet the next week you eat broccoli and nothing happens. And then now they think you're nuts. How many of you had this happen? Yeah. Because if I'm talking to none of you, I don't need to share the reason. I really want to know.
I can tell you, we're getting a lot of feedback on this topic, though. So many people, someone just said, you're the smartest doctor I've ever met. I know. Well, it's true. And people are saying, yep, they're having the same issue. We're getting a lot of comments on this topic. So it's clear this is an issue. And we know it's an issue, Dr. Maggie, you and I do, because we have both, even ourselves, experienced this. Oh, yeah. I was sharing with you that all of a sudden through my autoimmunity, I started becoming allergic to foods, unable to eat things like nuts. And I know you've had your own challenge with certain nuts.
I've never been allergic to nuts in my life. And it was in my 40s that I suddenly developed a severe life-threatening reaction to cashews. And I'd never had that happen before. And I'm testing negative for cashews, you guys. So I see this. And then later on in my later 40s, became for me, I am a big clams bivalve lover, which means like the clams, your oysters, your mussels. Oh my goodness. Okay. And I have, and in my late 40s, I started to become allergic to them as well. And people are like, why are there growing allergies in specific people, yet in somebody else, they don't have a problem? And I think that this is people want to know why. Somebody said, I have this problem with eggs. They eat eggs 1 week, no problem. The next eggs, they die from it. So I actually teach this in the program, and it's a much bigger issue, which is, what does food sensitivities really have to do with mast cell activation? As I alluded to, number one, you can react many different ways with different armies or Air Force or Navy of the allergy system. You're just being tested for the Air Force with the IgE, but there's the Navy and the Army sitting here having problems. And the testing for the Navy and the Army is absolutely inadequate. And the allergists who are working in the Air Force says the Navy and the Army doesn't exist. It sure as hell does, because you know it, because their testing says it doesn't exist, but you know it happens. But the problem is they're additive. They add together. So in our program, when I'm teaching the food sensitivity, the food mapping module, which is a unique, our own process for doing this. So nobody else on earth is teaching this. And people in the program, you tell them this, okay? So what happens is there's an additive effect, which is that it's what I call the bucket theory, which is that if you have like 10 points and 10 levels to a bucket, and you only have symptoms when the bucket reaches level 5 and above, you could be sitting here with a bunch of, IgA, IgG type allergies that are like, let's say 2-pointers. Okay. So, let's say they're 2-pointers. And so let's say it was broccoli, sesame, and eggs, right? So we had Colleen or somebody that was talking about eggs, and one week all they had was the eggs, and so it was just 2-pointer, no symptoms. The next week they decided to eat some broccoli, sesame, unknowing any of them were allergens, but then they happened to have egg added to it that week. Boom, mast cell activation symptom. Booyah, boom.
And then I'm also curious, what if it's more than just food? Is it potentially maybe you're having eggs, but you're also having some environmental allergy trigger, or maybe you're
that's the additive theory. So what happens is we're in the middle of fire season, let's say wildfire season, and then you add the environmental allergens from the wildfire, the smoke, the chemicals that are in the air, and then that gets your bucket to be at about level 2 or 3 all the time during allergy season. Well, this month you eat eggs and suddenly you have a histamine intolerance reaction. But then a month ago when you ate the egg, no problem. Because these are cumulative and additive. The histamines that are being produced in your body isn't just like, oh, I'm going to just be like one thing at a time. It is, how do you know that it's the broccoli, the sesame, or the egg? And if you knew none of those, then it appears absolutely random and it's going to drive you nuts. And this is why food mapping is so crucial, because it really takes into account not just what's going on with IgE, but what are the other items that are underneath this that's adding to this bucket that your doctor has never figured out.
And that's the key. No one else is thinking about all of the other factors.
You have to. And I have case after case after case. I'll give you an example. Sherry, who just recently graduated from our program. I mean, she's years dealing with mast cell activation, very disillusioned, very upset, been to tons of doctors, allergist specialists, have had food allergy testing, food sensitivity testing up the wazoo, was convinced that this program wasn't even going to work and was very upset. And until she got her results. When we went over the results, it turned out it was one thing: almond.
Oh, and that's something you probably are adding in.
When she went gluten-free.
Mm-hmm.
So then she wondered why it got worse, because I'm eliminating all this stuff. I went gluten-free. Guess what people replace gluten with? Almond milk, almond flour, almond butter, you name it. And so it was something she was eating every single day in the attempt to eliminate more and more foods. And her diet was extremely limited. She thought it was one of the healthy things I could eat, and it's healthy. She eliminated the almond, and 48 hours later was reporting that her mast cell symptoms are completely gone.
And this is gone. This isn't like I'm a little bit better. No, I'm better. I've been to all of these other specialists for years, probably trying to figure this out. Yeah. Within 48 hours, it's gone.
Well, and another person, like this is a couple of years ago, Chris went through our program. Amy was one of our alumni, and it was a light moment for her. It made a difference for her. She went through 4 years she's been 4 years post-program without any major reaction. And that goes to about sustainability, right? People are like, oh, maybe this is just the first 48 hours, and then the next 72 hours she's dying. No, this is sustainability, and this is proof. People, you need proof. And let me give you, and if anybody wants to see Amy's interview, I mean, she's a nurse and she had to work with this. And not only was she struggling with this, but also pot symptoms as well, which are linked. These are all linked. So if anybody wants to see Amy's interview, which she did 4 years ago, put it in the chat, Amy's interview, and our team is happy to get it to you and to get that resource to you.
I just have to also say, you work with thousands of patients and thousands of clients coming into the program.
I know. Want to remember all this?
You can remember everybody.
I can. So because, I mean, Anne, I don't think people realize just how much time we get to spend together and how well I get to know every single person who goes through our program. I mean, it's like imprinted here. I mean, I have been a clinical physician for 27 years now. God, I'm aging myself. And I would say that I know my clients better than I ever did, even patients that I'd taken care of over 10 years in a clinic. And it's just the quality of the time that we spend and being able to educate them like this. No pot symptoms for the last 4 years. How do I remember this?
I know. There you go. We didn't plan this. I know you're getting so much more time. And that's what people may not realize when looking into the program and thinking about it. They're getting so much time with you, and not only with you, but with the other experts in your group as well.
Well, that's the thing is you become your own expert, but you're also talking and live troubleshooting with an expert, truly an expert in this. I mean, imagine having I'm sure for Amy and for others, she works in healthcare. She's a nurse. You'd think that nurses and doctors have access to somebody like this, and we don't. I mean, I can't find another person who's had experienced this personally, went through this training, and is presenting a program that teaches you how to deal with it. So for me, that kind of relationship and mentorship of people, I remember you all. I really remember you all.
Add that I don't personally think it's just the huge amount of time that you get to spend with everybody, but it's very obvious to me that you actually care. You really, really care about helping people and making sure you do see them on a path to getting better. And I don't think there's any way you would remember these details otherwise.
Well, I really do. And the reason is this: how many times do any of you need to go get a near-death experience in the ER before you're taken seriously? I wasn't taken seriously, and I am a doctor. And I went through these allergy things, and I was told to get on things like Prozac, birth control pills, to deal with all these symptoms. And I did. I went through therapy. I went through all this to deal with all this. I was not crazy. There is a total scientific basis as to why people are having these symptoms. And we're just talking about one cause right now, which is food sensitivities, right? Which is food mapping, right? We're talking about. And I really want to clarify to people, food mapping is not your regular food sensitivity testing. And if you think that, and you think that that's what this is about, you're dead wrong again. And the problem is that you'll have an allergist boo-hooing how bad they say, oh, all those other tests, they aren't real, they're bad. Well, they are bad.
Yeah, you've tested them.
Because I tried hundreds of these. I've been in this for 27 years. I've been a autoimmune and allergy patient myself for 14 of those years.
And they're expensive. Some of them are very expensive too to get.
Expensive test, actually, and the most expensive one, which is over $2,000, is the worst test on the planet. And yet that's the most common food sensitivity test ran in some of the doctor's office, because there's some insurance reimbursement, some kickback kind of there going on there. So, so I'm just letting you guys know is that I've kissed a lot of frogs, and I think about, I've spent over $1 million over the past 14 years into my own education, testing and trial and all this to figure, and educational conference and learning to figure all this out, what I teach in our program in 2 months, right? So do you want to do it in 15 years and $1 million, or do you want to learn in 2 months? How much is that time and effort worth to you, right?
That's an easy choice.
Yeah, but food mapping is completely a different process. And that's why it leads into the topic that I'm going to talk about, which is digestion.
Okay, that would be another number 2 big cause you're saying that goes.
Oh my God, it is so big. It is mind-blowing. And the comment section is going insane. This is really hitting a nerve. Yeah. Digestion, to me, and I've said this, is the holy grail in one of the most common causes of autoimmune disease and mast cell and histamine intolerance, period. And the mounting level of data and research coming out about digestion as the underlying role of all these increased allergy reaction is damning. And yet, do you know that your doctors get zero training in digestion? I'm talking about your GI specialists.
Wow.
I'm even talking about your naturopath and functional medicine doctors. Okay. So latest research, right, is that, believe it or not, example, in your gut lining, there's mucus mucin layer, there are cells, mucosal cells. If there's any disruption of these mucosal cells help with digestion, right? But if there's any infection or disruption in this cell lining in their function, then these allergens are able to penetrate right underneath it. It's literally 1 millimeter below. If they could get 1 millimeter below these mucosal cells under the mucin layer, boom. That's the difference between someone having Crohn's or not.
Wow.
The difference between someone having a life-threatening reaction or not. That's also the difference between colon cancer. Do you know that they have found actually that the disruption of that mucin layer and the introduction of 2 specific species of bacteria underneath that mucin layer is what causes colon cancer?
I've never heard that. I guarantee you many people that are listening right now have never heard that. So
digestion. So the health of these cells and the work that they do is really important. And that's how we're going to talk about digestion right now. With digestion, your cells throughout your gut cells and your liver and your gallbladder and the bacteria in your gut, along with your gut cells, are every step of that digestion is so important. And in our program, we spend weeks going through all these different phases of digestion and how they impact upon all autoimmune diseases. And that's why, number one, when we talk about autoimmunity, we already know that genetically, based on data, 90% of people with autoimmune disease don't have enough stomach acid. And stomach acid is, number one, the first step in digestion to break down your food, but it's also your number one defense against infection coming in. Now, let's just talk about digestion with breaking down food. If you don't have stomach acid to break down the food into smaller pieces, the allergen piece of that food that's presenting is in such huge numbers that, let's say you ate a cucumber and that's your problem. If you don't digest it, 1,000 particles will present into the blood. If you digest it, maybe 50 particles will present in the blood. So this is the difference between a person who's going to have no reaction and a person who's going to die from that reaction. And it's your freaking digestion. And the first step is just stomach acid. And we have many steps of digestion. So this is why every single person starting our program starts to learn about digestion, and they start realizing that genetically, people have autoimmune disease because they have shitty digestion.
Yeah.
People have autoimmune disease because they have shitty digestion that they're born with. I'm telling you this right now as an underlying cause, which is why Digest It is the biggest best-selling recurring purchase item over and over again, because it is designed with minimal number of ingredients, because we don't want a high number of ingredients that people could be allergic to with autoimmunity and mast cell. So you want minimal number of ingredients, but yet takes care of every step in digestion. So taking Digest It, 1 with a small meal, 2 with a big meal, is like a big game changer. And Digest It even comes in a chewable for those of you with swallowing problems or children, right? So go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, we've talked to so many alumni now over the last several months since I've been with you. And I've heard from many of them that say, oh, Digest It was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
As soon as I started taking it, this symptom went away, that symptom went away, not just talking about mast cell, but even other symptoms.
Yeah.
So I know how important it is, that tool in the toolbox for proper digestion. And Digest It, you just probably can't say.
Proper digestion decreases allergen presentation in the blood, period. So if you have any sort of allergy disorder, it's because you're not digesting your food well, and to break down the allergen in the food so then it presents in your blood. So why aren't we stopping the source of what's causing the histamine release later, right? Is lower the allergen presentation. But yet, none of your allergists, I mean, how many of you guys are going to Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins? By the way, all of you guys come to me last. Okay. Why don't you listen to me first so you don't have to go there? So we get the hardest cases that after they go to Mayo and Johns Hopkins, they come to us, and then I eat that problem for breakfast, right? But the thing is that why aren't we just stopping the allergen from coming in the first place that triggers the mast cell, right? That's a root cause, and that's from digestion. And then you have these this is actually stupid. This is like maddening. Then how come my doctors put me on acid reducers for my heartburn? Yep, they're iatrogenically, meaning doctor producing more and more worsening allergy reactions and disease.
But this happens to so many people with autoimmune issues. It happened to me when I first was diagnosed with my issues. That was one of the first things they put me on, and they gave me a prescription for one. They told me to take an over-the-counter one. I was on very high.
You have your allergy symptoms get worse and worse and worse. Your doctors just created through that little purple pill a worsening allergy reaction that worsens over time. That could be even the beginning of many people's mast cell and histamine intolerance problem, is the first moment they take one of these pills to stop the acid production, because they just like, oh, you have heartburn? Why don't you take it? And then you wonder why 3 years later, oh my God, this person has mast cell activation. Why don't you take some Prozac? Let's get another medication on board here, right?
You're cuckoo, because sometimes you can eat it, and sometimes my own family would say to me, but I don't understand. You used to be able to eat that just fine. Now all of a sudden you can't eat it. And I'm like, yes, I'm not making this up. And I think so many people can relate to that frustration of like, what's happening? Why is this happening to me? Is it in my head? But no, I'm experiencing these real symptoms.
And Marissa here brings up a really good point. The lead mast cell researchers aren't even looking at the digestion. Of course they're not. They have no training in digestion. There is zero training in digestion in the conventional medical world, even your GIs, and there is a little bit of it in the natural world, but naturopathic or functional medicine world, but they're not connecting it with mast cell, or they're not connecting it with autoimmune disease. So this is where I think people start to get into this whole thing where it's just supplementation. A lot of times people are going to these naturopath functional medicine doctor to get on 100 pills of supplements every day, and that's the solution. Why don't I teach you about your digestion so you can fix this problem for life? Why don't I help you figure out using your own data and food mapping, not just the digestion piece, but give you the data that it's the almond or the egg, so you don't have to take that shit anymore? How about that? I'm probably the worst.
Actually, spend thousands of dollars on those supplements too, because it gets so expensive.
I'm probably the worst salesperson for a supplement company that you can get, because I'm really interested in teaching people what's really causing that problem in them, so they don't just have a blind dependency model on these natural or functional doctors or on supplements. And this is how they make their money.
Right.
But at the same time, why the hell would I teach people to do that? Because I think my purpose is different. I am so fascinated with the why in each individual person that having you on a recurrent subscription of $1,000 worth of supplements every month is ridiculous to me. I'm in the business of teaching people how to know their cause, minimize the trigger in the first place, so their need for supplementation and medication goes way down.
Yeah, that says a lot, though, coming from somebody who, is in the supplement business as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But again, I sell Digestion, right?
Right.
But I'm more interested, instead of saying everybody just buy Digestion, I want to teach you the why. Why is this so important? Because why this digestive enzyme? Well, if you already are dealing with autoimmunity with more allergens presenting, why would you want a digestive enzyme with 50, 60 ingredients in there? Many of them are. Right. So then the supplements themselves are triggering worsening mast cell activation and histamine intolerance for people, because they're not dedicated to having the minimal number of clean ingredients that are the least allergenic to trigger it in people, to actually help them digest their food better, to decrease the allergen load. When a lot of these 50 ingredient products are causing that problem, well, some of these ingredients are causing those problems in the first place too. Right. So this is full circle moment right here.
And light bulbs are going off for me personally. I'm sure light bulbs are going off for others watching, who maybe it's them dealing with the issue. Maybe it's a child or a loved one who they know are dealing with these issues as well. And they're just not hearing this information from the doctors.
And the problem is, as a mother watching your kids, I want to know how many parents are watching their kids go through this. And you're, as a parent, have autoimmune issues going on, and you're seeing this in your kid, and they're telling you it's not connected. Oh my God, it sure as hell is connected. And then you wonder what to do. The most important first thing you can do is get them on a digestive enzyme, digestive chewable. That's what I would do. So full circle on digestion. And digestion, I could go on a full day lecture just going through all the aspects. And I'm just talked about stomach acid. I didn't even talk about your pancreatic digestion, the importance of gallbladder and bile salts and bile fluid in there, the importance of your gut bacteria in digestion and fermentation. Oh my God, that is just mind blowing. Wow. Which is why we're going to move to the next topic, to me, which is about gut bacteria.
Can I just ask you quickly? You said it's okay for children to take the digestive enzymes as well.
Okay, they freaking need it. So here's the thing, all you parents out there with autoimmunity, if you have just stomach acid alone, 90% of you are low. And then there's 20 other steps. 100% of you have digestive problems. Your children inherit that genetics. So how many of you have kids that have eczema, allergies, asthma, ADD, behavioral issues, food sensitivity, diarrhea, nausea, gas, bloating, constipation, right? How many of you have children with that? Yes. And how many of you want to end it? Well, you know what? The first thing you could do, get them on a chewable digestive enzyme, digested chewable, have them chew one with small meals, two with big meals. I have kids all in the program, and they call it their what do they call it? Their meal vitamins, or the digestion vitamins. So it tastes good and it works really well. That's the first thing. Irene from Norway says, in this program, it's the first time I've explained the why from a doctor. And Irene is bringing this information to her doctors. This strong Viking woman now is representing herself and speaking to her doctor, asking for the right tests, asking for the right the right testing from her doctors, the right conversations, the right referrals, the ultrasound that she needs. She's advocating for herself for the first time, like the real kick-ass Viking woman she is.
I love it. No, and what you're saying really, I'm sure a lot of people can relate because my son's got food allergies and eczema.
Yeah.
Took him to the dermatologist today, and you know what they offered me? The only option was
Exploratory.
yeah, and then to get on Dupixent, like an injection, or they talked to me about an immunosuppressant, and I'm thinking, there's
Why the hell are we doing this? How old is your son?
3.
3 years old. They're putting this kid on an immunosuppressant in a mother who already have autoimmune symptoms. What the hell are we doing to this kid? What
And
the
I
hell are we doing to this kid?
don't know.
And
In the
why
back
are we
of my
starting?
mind, I'm thinking Dr. Maggie would have a much better answer to this.
Oh,
you know?
and we're going to end that problem.
Right.
Okay. So I could eat that problem for breakfast. We can end that within 2 months. Right. So we will. I mean, we have the proof is in the pudding. How many hundreds of people need to have this problem solved?
Yeah, and I know I'm not alone as a parent. There are so many other parents that are dealing with this as well.
Someone says same. That's what they want to do with my son. And then people are like, will this help with psoriasis? Psoriasis is just another autoimmune disease relating with the skin. And remember, guys, any of these skin autoimmune disorders, they're just mirrors of what's happening on the inside skin. So if you have any autoimmune disease of the skin where you have rashes or lesions on the outside, that's exactly what's happening in your inside skin with your gut. And the first thing you can do is work on digestion. Now, I want to just move forward to the next topic, which is going to be the gut bacteria. Okay. We're going to talk about what does gut bacteria has to do with mast cell activation and histamine intolerance? Your allergist, Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins will say nothing.
But Dr. Maggie knows better.
Because gut bacteria and the research is pumping out now fast and furious. Your gut bacteria has a lot to do with the allergy cascade. A lot. So remember I mentioned that just two strains of bacteria, specific strains of bacteria being introduced underneath your intestinal cells will trigger colon cancer. So imagine when people have all this poor digestion, lots of food allergies, so it's a crazy ass war zone in there. They get put on these PPI drugs to cut down acid. They get put even on steroids to like suppress their immune system, or your son's injectable to suppress their immune system. So your immune system in your gut is starting to get suppressed. Then what happens? Lots of bad bacteria starts to grow. The microbiome in your gut really shifts so that the good bacteria don't get a chance to grow because they're being in a war zone all the time. We're favoring the growth of bad bacteria in our gut. These bad bacteria in your gut create what we call endotoxins. They can secrete toxins that are highly allergenic, pro-inflammatory, causal for tons of symptoms. And inside these bacteria, they have what's called LPS, lipopolysaccharides. These lipopolysaccharides, LPS, when these cells split, when they die, release into the bloodstream, and they go in and they start attacking your liver. They flow straight into your liver, causing tons of like liver, what we call fatty liver, cholesterol problems. It occupies the liver so then it can't break down hormones. It can't process sugar. It is literally flowing all this bacterial junk into your body. And the thing is, if you're having a histamine intolerance problem, or you have a mast cell and you're releasing a lot of histamines, it's going straight into the bloodstream, and your liver can't even handle it because it's busy dealing with all this bacterial LPS. It sees the histamines, which is supposed to break down, and just says, oh, flow right through me. I can't even break it down. I cannot break it down because you have so much damn bad bacteria in you, because we're not paying attention to this. You're not dealing with digestion, buddy. You're not dealing with all the allergens that's warring within there, and you're certainly you're not growing and taking good, what we call keystone species of good bacteria in your gut, so that they can counterbalance all these bad guys to decrease the level of endotoxin, to decrease the LPS that is going into your bloodstream all the frickin' time. This is the underlying cause of autoimmunity, everybody. This is the underlying cause that's causing these mast cell and these histamine symptoms to go crazy, because you're full of bad bacteria, you guys.
You're blowing people's mind right now. This is probably one of the most knowledge bomb dropping episodes we've had of Autoimmune Table Talk, because you really, yes, it's scientific, but you're breaking it down in such an understandable way to make so many of us out here realize oh my goodness, there's so much that's going into my mast cell activation issues, my food issues, my histamine issues, and nobody else is talking about it. But what you're saying is making so much sense. And I think I can tell by the comments, it's clicking with people. What is this?
Thank
Oh
God.
my God, this makes sense.
This makes my heart sing. Like, I mean, I want to take really difficult concepts that seem really disconnected and put them together and teach it in a way that you can goddamn understand it and master it and be able to apply it. And that's my passion around this. Excuse my French. I'm a fan of the cursey words. Excuse me. Sorry. But I'm very passionate. I get hot under the collar around this topic. Why can't we put this together in a way where any of you can understand it, right? And so that's huge to me. So what can you do with your bacteria is, number one is you got to support your digestion, right? But number two is, that's the question. How do you deal with this, right? Number one, you got to digest your food properly. Okay. Because when you actually have proper digestion, you're actually helping the environment in the gut with less allergen presentation, less histamine swelling in the area, less war. So then the cells in your gut and your good bacteria can start digesting it. So number one, you got to digest. Number two, remove all the allergens by having food mapping done. Right. And it's not what you think. Stop all those damn elimination diets and what you've been told. Why are so many people coming in with 3-4 foods? You know, after they do food mapping, they can eat hundreds of foods. What if it's just damn sesame? Because it is most of the time. It's just one thing, two things. It's not the hundreds of things they're lying to you about.
You were telling me earlier there was somebody that went through the program where found out it was just vanilla and banana, and yet they're doing that every day.
Yes. It was Sean, and she had she was sitting here like, it can't be food allergy. I'm all a health nut, yoga instructor, all this, right? And it blew her mind that when she had her food mapping done, not only were her symptoms already improving before she even got the results because she was working on digestion, but by the time she got the food mapping, it turned out to be vanilla, banana, both of which she was putting in her smoothies every single day.
Because it's so healthy.
And she had food allergy sensitivity testing up the wazoo. None of it showed it. Within a week of removing them, the first thing, headaches went away. The second thing, the eczema went away. Third week, joint pain started to go away. And fourth week, no more allergy histamine type reactions. Hallelujah, right? So this is real. But the other thing that's really important is I'm going to talk about the role of probiotics. And this was the question that I think Colleen had about, well, how do you actually increase the population of good bacteria versus the bad bacteria in your gut? You got to deal with digestion. You got to do the food mapping, right? Remove the allergens. But the most important third crucial thing is you want to increase the diversity, the diverse strains of good bacteria in your gut. So what they have found is interesting is that people with autoimmune disease, people with mast cell, any of these immune-related type of diseases, they have lower small levels of gut diversity. That means that they have less variety of troops to do a variety of different jobs. Imagine if your only military was the Air Force and you really don't have the Navy and the Army, you're shit out of luck. So it's really important is to increase the microbiome diversity. So the more strains you actually introduce and feed and have them grow, the more jobs they can do, including breaking down histamines.
Makes sense.
There are bacterial strains that break down histamines. Yes. And it's in our ProFlora AI. So ProFlora AI is, our probiotic. And I formulate it specifically with strains that are really what I call keystone species. They're the key species that we should have in our gut in large numbers. And some of these species specifically can actually, in clinical studies, lower histamine.
Wow. Wow. And that's so important. I know you've done the research, so you know exactly which ones are important to have in there because there are so many probiotics on the market, and it's hard to know, which one is really going to help me with my autoimmune issues.
We have several, and we're even introducing more. So I'm letting you know that in our program, we typically rotate ProFlora AI and ProFlora GI. And in our program, I advise people to take ProFlora AI Monday through Fridays, and on Saturday take ProFlora GI. And your microbiome likes to be challenged. Don't take the same probiotic day after day after day, year after year after year. You want to challenge it. So we rotate too. And so we're introducing even more probiotics in the next week or two. But I liked that rotation because those will really help populate with more keystone species. And some of those species are in it specifically because they actually help the numbers of the other strains to grow more. So there's reasons behind it why I picked these specific strains. In our ProFlora AI, for example, there's also Saccharomyces boulardii, which is really great against fungal species. So there's a lot of what we call intestinal fungal overgrowth. It's not just bacteria. Fungal infections is really big. So S. boulardii taken in a probiotic is really great. It's really good at kicking out some of the yeast species. And that's why I put it in there, because of the predominance of fungal infections as a trigger of worsening things like psoriasis, eczema, lichen sclerosis, candida, and rula. These kinds of fungal infections are really big in causing severe pain and neuropathy also. So this is not a small deal. It's a big deal. And I have to take that into consideration, right? Someone's asking, how long can you take a probiotic till you recover or after? Probiotics themselves is not your green pill. This is the really important thing. I'm not in the market of the little purple pill, and instead I'm going to give you the little green pill. That's one of the biggest problems with the supplement industry, and that I abhor, is that people sell these products as a one-stop shop solution,
for life,
which they are not. And by this question, the expectation of the public is also they look at supplements like it's some sort of medication pill too. And for me, what part of the whole thing that is did you guys not hear? Which is what part of digestion, what part of food sensitivity, what part of also the gut bacteria, they work together and they're all connected. So who the hell knows how to answer that question? I can't answer that question because I sure as hell don't know where your digestion is. I don't know what food mapping things are going to come up. And we haven't even talked about a myriad of other topics that we're talking about. That would be part of the causes of this. These are just the 3 most common causes that none of your doctors know about. These are just the top 3.
Well, those are the top 3. I don't know if we have time, but you're alluding to the fact that maybe we could touch on there are even additional causes for these issues.
What I would love, for the sake of time, is I'm going to ask you guys, do you want me to keep going next week? Do you want me to go into mast cell activation and histamine intolerance, the actual completely unknown, mind-blowing, shocking causes next week? Because this week, I could have talked 3 days on these topics, Anne.
Well, I know you're so passionate about it. You've got so much fire in your belly because no other doctors are talking about it, and you have so much obvious knowledge that you're trying to get out. You have dropped so much bonus material for people that generally they only get within the program. I mean, even with that recommendation of rotating the probiotics, it's so valuable. Look at this. Person after person is chiming in. Yes, please.
Oh, thank you.
Fast, I can't even keep up. Yes, please, next week. Mast cell and histamine.
The thing is, I think a really crucial point for everybody to understand is I'm not just talking to you with mast cell activation and histamine intolerance. What I'm talking about here relates to every single person that's dealing with autoimmunity and every single person that has gut symptoms, period. So under the guise of talking about mast cell and histamine intolerance, I'm really highlighting a real cause of why people with autoimmune disease have such underlying gut triggers of all their autoimmunity. This is screwing with their immune system. And so it has to do with digestion, food mapping, as well as the gut bacteria that's in their gut. So all 3 of these are, to me, the holy grail top 3 causes that none of your doctors know about. That to me are obvious, like duh to me. But next week, what I'd love to do is there seems to be enough responses here.
Yes, more
people. So next week, I'm going to talk about the surprising, shocking causes that nobody knows about. The non-obvious causes to me. Anyway, they're non-obvious to me. And so what I'd love to do here is, I think this is a good place to stop.
Okay.
So many people have talked about here that they are suffering with this. And so what I want to do is this. I'm making a commitment to you that next week I'm going to do this, but I'm going to ask something of you. I'm going to ask you in the chat right now to tell me exactly what autoimmune issues are going on with you. Because here's the thing is, you don't speak up, I can't help you. You don't speak up, I don't know what content to provide for you. And here's the thing is, if you're interested in the program and learning more about exactly the whole kit and caboodle of what I do, check your message requests and see if we sent you a message. But we're going to put a link where you can message our team. Message our team so you can learn more about it. In our 5 pillars training video, I go over actually all the pillars that's feeding autoimmunity. Those are the exact same pillars that it's feeding mast cell and histamine intolerance. So if you're interested in seeing the 5 pillars training and how I connect the dots like this, connecting all these seemingly unconnected topics that really are the holy grail root causes, type 5 pillars in chat and then check your message requests or for resources from our team or for the link. How many people wants to be tagged in the video for 5 pillars? Tell me you want the 5 pillars, but tell me why you want it. Give me something to work with, because we have so many resources. I want to know how to help you. So all of you guys right now that are watching, check your message requests in your Facebook Messenger, not your messages. On the top, there's a dot for message requests. I bet you already there's a message request from our team that you missed. So take a look at those. And we're trying to send resources out and share, because we have literally hundreds of case studies of people with symptoms worse than you. And you can see how they were able to turn it around. Regardless of whether you're interested in working with me or not, do you want those resources? Tell me what's going on with you in chat. And here's an ask. If you know anybody that actually would benefit from this information, I want you to click the video and tag their name underneath it, so that I want to raise awareness around this. Why is it that nobody knows about this? Why the hell doesn't your doctors or anybody suffering with this, any parent out there, why don't they know this? I want them to know. Type their name in the chat, tag them in this video. If you're watching from YouTube, share the link. Give it a thumbs up. This is the only way we can get the algorithm to actually share this video.
Dr. Maggie, I just want to say, based on the sheer volume of comments we got tonight, this is such an important topic. And on behalf of all of those people and the many that I know will watch the replay of this, I just want to thank you so much. We hate that you yourself had to experience these issues, but because of it, you were able to get educated. It was the exact person we needed to get educated on this, to be able to help so many others. And you dropped so much valuable information today that we just really appreciate your time, your knowledge, and your generosity to share this.
Well, I think that is interesting. Somebody had a quote, and maybe someone can tell me who said this quote, but some people are that we are the best teachers in our greatest area of suffering. We are the best teachers in our greatest area of suffering. And I say that for everybody in the program who's been through my program, they become the best teachers about autoimmunity. That's why in chat, there's so many alumni here answering questions, and they're teaching and they're answering, because they become the best teachers in their greatest area of suffering. That's what happened to me. And so this is why I take this really to heart. I feel blessed with gratitude that I took one for the team. So you don't have to, right? So there was a reason this happened to me. And this is why I get to teach this. I get to share this. I get to solve this for you, right?
I absolutely believe it. And you are living that. And so just thank you. Thank you so much for being that example now for so many others.
And that's a wrap, everybody. I hope you had a big aha. And if you could put your biggest aha in chat, that'd be really awesome. We appreciate that.
And we'll see you next week with more on this.
Big love, everybody. Bye.